space commute is something that has come a long way ever since the first ever moon landing. But with time and ample resources being maneuvered toward this industry, innovation is taking place faster than ever. In recent times, NASA has seen a shift of power from them to other space industry giants, including China National Space Administration and SpaceX. So sit back as we discuss the country's Long March 9 rocket plan and NASA's obsolete designs. First up, China scraps the Long March 9 rocket plan in favor of reusable version. China's main launch vehicle institute has scrapped plans for a one-time use super heavy lift launcher in favor of a design with a first stage that can be used numerous times. A new model of a Long March 9 rocket with grid fins and no side boosters was recently shown at the Zhuhai Air Show in southern China. This led to rumors that the long-standing plan for a rocket that could be used only once had been scrapped. In an interview with China Central Television on November 7th, Liu Bing, head of the General Design Department at the China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology, CALT, confirmed the new direction. The rocket's new plan is to be 108 meters tall, 10 meters wide, and weigh 4,180 metric tons. It will have 3 stages and be able to send 150 tons to low Earth orbit, 50 tons to Lunar Transfer Orbit (LTO), or 35 tons to Mars Transfer Orbit. Around 2030, the rocket should be ready for a test flight. Liu told CCTV, though, that the design hasn't been finalized yet and that it's likely to change as the team figures out the best way to get to the goal, which is to keep breaking through technological barriers and making the rocket's launch power stronger. CALT has spent years developing the Long March 9 rocket. The plan was to build a one-way rocket to send 100 metric tons to LEO. Long March 9 was originally modeled after NASA's SLS. The first SLS rocket for Artemis 1 flight sits on the pad at Kennedy Space Center as Tropical Storm Nicole approaches. Moving on, how is this model different from the orthodox rockets? In recent years, senior CALT official Long Lehao has shown new designs for the Long March 9 that seem to respond to SpaceX's reusability progress. Unofficially, the presentations indicate a move away from the one-time use version, with boosters demonstrated at the Zhuhai Air Show last year, and toward reusable kerosene and methane-fueled ideas. The methane-powered version might be available by 2035, adds Long. The new model keeps the same time frame for a test flight, which suggests a switch from large, dual-nozzle 500-ton thrust engines to clusters of lower-thrust, single-nozzle engines, as suggested in Long's presentations to make a recovery and reuse easier. During the same time, the 6th Academy of the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, CASC, which also currently holds CALT, recently did the first full system fire test of the 500-ton thrust YF-130 kerosene liquid oxygen engine, which is thought to have been made to power the expendable Long March 9. What still needs to be discovered is how the engine will be used in the future. China's new crew launch vehicle, sometimes called the Long March 5 Danyue moon landing or Long March 5 5G, was also on display in Zhuhai. Earlier models had slanted nose cones on the side cores, but this shows that there has been a change. The rocket will be able to send 27 metric tons into space between the Earth and the Moon. 2 of the new rockets will be able to send a spacecraft with people in it and a landing stack to the Moon's orbit. This would make it possible for 2 people to land on the Moon. Adding to this, when will we see it take off? Liu said that the rocket is almost ready for prototyping and that a test flight would happen in 2027. It needs to be clarified if this meant the single-stick version for launching a new generation of crew spacecraft to LEO, the first launch planned for 2026, or the full 3-core, 3-stage version for missions to the Moon. CASC recently tested the YF-100M engines for the rocket's second stage in a 300-second mission duty cycle. Senior Chinese space officials like Long Lehao and Yipei Jian said last year that the country will be able to carry out this idea for the multiple short-term lunar stay mission before 2030. Further, does this design suggest NASA's SLS is already obsolete? Large or small, reusable rockets are the way of the future, and a new model of a Long March 9 launch vehicle shows that Chinese rocket scientists are starting to agree. According to Space News, a team from China showed off their updated model at the Zhuhai Air Show, which is still going on. With its grid fins and lack of side boosters, the new Long March 9 design reminds me of SpaceX's Starship, which makes me think of reusability. In charge of design at the China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology, CALT, Liu Bing told China Central Television that the new direction is true, but that the design still needs to be finalized. Elon Musk was interested in this change, so he took the lead and showed that it could be done. In response to the Space News article, the CEO of SpaceX tweeted, "Rockets that can't be used more than once have no future." The CEO of SpaceX didn't mention NASA's Space Launch System by name, but he could have. The development of the 98-meter-tall, 97.84-meter SLS rocket and the Orion spacecraft cost more than $50 billion. Each launch of the Artemis rocket is expected to cost more than $4.1 billion, which Inspector General Paul Martin has called unsustainable. Let's also examine the battle between CNSA and NASA over space hegemony. SLS has yet to launch, but it needs to be updated. China is unwilling to follow suit. Due to politics and budget restrictions, NASA chose an expendable mega rocket 12 years ago. Reusable rockets weren't obvious then. NASA didn't realize it in 2010, but given its reputation for innovation and achievement, it should have. China first proposed creating an expendable super heavy launch vehicle in 2018 for Earth orbit and the Moon. Early mock-ups favored NASA's Space Launch System, which will launch on November 16th. The Long March 9 was originally supposed to deliver 100 metric tons to low Earth orbit, but China seems to be thinking bigger in terms of the rocket's power and recyclability. Space News believes the modified Long March 9 will have 3 stages and lift 150 metric tons to LEO. The rocket will be 108 meters tall and 4,180 tons. Senior CALT executives have presented new plans for the Long March 9 in recent years. Space News adds, apparently in reaction to improvements in reusability displayed by SpaceX. Indeed, SpaceX's Falcon 9 is famous for its reusable first stage, but Starship will be reusable. The maiden launch of the 2-stage Starship may happen later this year. Space News believes the Chinese rocket will fly in 2030, but the design isn't finalized, and China has never attempted a vertical landing. The South China Morning Post predicts the Long March 9 will be operational by 2035. China is making headway on the 500 metric ton thrust YF-130 engine that will power the Long March 9. SLS's future is uncertain. Only time will tell. Congress and taxpayers may tire of the concept and choose Elon's answer. Lastly, SpaceX is taking the lead with its reusable rockets. The Long March 9 would employ the same fuel, methane liquid oxygen or metal ox, as SpaceX's Starship, which is used for deep space missions and NASA's moon landings. Both designs can carry heavy loads and use different types of fuel, but other than that, their structures are very different. For example, Starship can do flips in the air when it's about to land. China's government has been working on the Long March 9 to be used in 2030. This is mostly to build the International Lunar Research Station, a joint project between China and Russia. But the country showed a plan that was so different that Space News called the new fully reusable Long March 9 version a dramatic departure from a version shown last year that only had a reusable first stage. Space News said that the proposed metal ox design for Long March 9 is possible because the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation has been working on methane engines for a long time. The move would also bring China in line with US companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and United Launch Alliance, all looking into the metal ox mix for better performance and less environmental damage from soot. That's a wrap for this video. Can the Long March 9 be remodeled as a reusable rocket? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.